Hello, everybody. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Corey.
Every week we discuss and review a new book, movie, album, TV show, or honestly any piece of art or culture that ourselves and you guys choose. This is Mind Control. So there was these people who were being kidnapped and mind controlled.
Exactly, dude. And I can totally see how that happened. Because, like, imagine if you were just given acid or just drugs like that are so disorienting for hours and hours on end and never being able to come down and not feeling safe and having somebody tell you things and accuse you of things, you know? Yeah.
Mind control. That's how we do it, baby. GG's Mind Control.
On today's episode of Mind Control, we are going to be discussing the third installment in Scott Mescady's, aka Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon series, Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen. Released on December 11th, 2020, Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen, finds our hero lost dealing with the same pain he had not felt in years. According to the back of the album, it then takes us through one night where he must face himself and fight to win back his soul from the evil Mr. Rager. The album features production from Dr. Genius, Take a Day Trip, and return to the original team from the previous Man on the Moon entries, Plain Pat, Emil Hain, and Mike Dean. The album also features collaborations with Skepta, Pop Smoke, Trippie Redd, and Phoebe Bridgers. This album was no quick process. It's been a project 10 years in the making. Man on the Moon, The End of Day was released on September 15, 2009, followed by Man on the Moon 2, The Legend of Mr. Rager on November 9, 2010. 10 years later, we have received Man on the Moon 3, which does not mean that Kid Cudi still hasn't been very busy with a slew of notable releases in between the Man on the Moon series, such as Indicud, Satellite Flight, Speeding Bullet to Heaven, Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying, and of course his collaboration with Kanye West, Kid See Ghost. Today we get to explore this dark yet hopeful third installment in the Man on the Moon series. This is Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen.
All right, so I want to start this one off with just a quick sentence for you, Mr. Right. Universe. Okay, this is what I want to start this one with. This was by far the best Travis Scott album I've ever heard.
Nah, bro. Like, you know, it's funny though because everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people do have that reaction. I'm not gonna lie. When it first came out, me and Frankie sat and listened to the whole thing, and like not the first song, but like the first couple songs though after the first one, like She Knows This, Dive and shit. Like, yeah, dude. At first we were kind of like, fuck, man, this sounds really like Travis Scott. Like almost too much, you know? Especially with like the little ad libs he was doing.
He did the exact ad libs Travis does. Exactly.
No, yeah. But then I don't know, dude. Like, but then the second time I listened to it, I definitely liked it more, and then it kept growing on me. And then I also felt like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who they borrow flows from other people, and I don't always talk shit about them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's what music's there for.
When it really comes down to it, Travis Scott's flow and entire being was inspired by Kid Cudi, so it's full circle.
Yeah, and you know, just since you're on it, I thought it was you watched the Zane Lowe interview.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny when Kid Cudi talked about that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Travis said that he likes when I rap," and he's like, "I thought to myself, oh, this must be what the kids like then." You know? And I was like, I thought it was funny that he was like talking about Travis, like you know, because he's more our age, you know. I mean, I think he's younger than us actually, but he's he? Travis, I think so. You know, I'm gonna look that up right now since we got the internet right now. Right? Yeah, he is young, right? Frankie said he's. Why are you listening? No, he's
she's like, he's young. I know exactly when he was born.
Oh, no. Actually, he's only a year younger than me, so he's 28.
Oh shit! Oh, there you go. A lot of those fucking rappers are young. And just so everybody knows, we also got our boy Daniel Ray, aka Iceland Entertainment, aka your boy Shadow, helping us produce this episode. So shout out to him. You might hear him in the background every once in a while. Shout out. No, I didn't really mean. I mean, there's obviously, you know, hints of Travis Scott, you know, throughout the whole album, but it definitely wasn't like some sort of cheesy ripoff Travis Scott album. I was just kind of just a funny anecdote I wanted to add. And to end it, I'll say I wrote this note down. Did the Man on the Moon take a vacation and land on Astroworld?
No, you know, I think though when he does do the Travis though, it is more in the beginning of the album, which if like and you've read here what I have them right here, but you've read like let me see, let me open it up. Like the acts and shit, you know how it's like separated the acts, like all of them, and like all those songs that sound Travis Scott are all in like the rager part, you know, and then like because once he gets towards the second half, like Act 3, I feel like that. I mean, I like the album as a whole, and I actually really like the beginning now. Like, I love Another Day, She Knows This. I love all those songs now. But the last half, like Mr. Solo Dolo 3 onward, I feel like that last half of the album is like really amazing. Like it's more like on a Man on the Moon 1 level. Because that's what this reminds me more of than it doesn't remind me so much of Man on the Moon 2 as it does Man on the Moon 1. Like, it's very return to like weed and psychedelics, where Man on the Moon 2 was party fucking cocaine, like issues, like really deep issues that come out through this shit. And I feel like number 1 is, because I actually wrote it down, like when I went through them, number 1 is very I would say it just, I don't know, dude, it almost reminds me of like our journey through life, at least mine. Like number 1 feels like when I was in high school, just smoking weed, doing acid, doing mushrooms, and how like, you know, like you fucking, like you have issues and shit, and like you talk about them. But I feel like number 1 is, even though there are dark parts in number 1, it's very hopeful in the ending, like, and even in the beginning with Heart of a Lion. But then when it ends on with Up and Away, where, you know, that's where it's like the wake and bake song. But like I feel like that wake and bake song at the end is like a metaphor for like a good day and like the good thoughts, and like after a psychedelic trip or after a long night, that way you feel in the morning when you're like, oh, okay, I can smoke and I feel good. And it ends very positively. But then number 2 starts kind of positive with like Refavev and like I'm here for the kids again, and we're back in his mind. But then number 2 ends because we go through, it's not psychedelics anymore, now it's cocaine and raging, which is a way different aspect. And that one ends on Trapped in My Mind, and which is different, you know, because he ends up trapped at the end of number 2. And then this is another thing I want to bring up, because in number 1, the first song is In My Dreams. So like the whole thing is like, welcome, we're in my head, you know, you guys are all part of this. Like, you're going to go through my mental. And then, should I
No,
stop?
you're good. No, you're good.
And then number 2 also starts out that the first song, Scott Mescudi versus the World. It's like, what's up? How everybody doing? You're now in the world, I'm ruling. And he talks about being in his mind again. Whereas this one, though, number 2 ends on Trapped in My Mind, and they don't really pick up. There's not a song at the beginning, number 1 or number 3 that says anything like that. The only thing it starts out with is he falls deeper into a state. So in like my mind, it's like we never really left his mind from number 2.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no welcome in. This one is just like a continuation, you know, of number 2 in a way, you know, but in a different aspect.
Yeah, totally. Exactly what you said is kind of how I totally I tried my best to look at part 3 as a part of a series of albums. And when I did that, it warmed me up to the album, I guess. So like, you know, on my first listen, I think that my first listen was a little tainted because I just was in a bad state of mind, and that's a whole another topic we can get into in a little bit. But like, my first impression of the album was a certain type of way because of my own shit. And that's one thing I noticed about Kid Cudi, is that like his music, it kind of like is a theme song to your shit going on. It's not like it makes you feel something. It exaggerates your feelings you already have, in a sense. That's what I've never noticed that about Kid Cudi. He's such a vibe that you have to give the music time to resonate, in a sense, because it's such a vibe. It's not like fucking, I don't know, like a different artist who like you hear their music and it automatically it creates this state of listening, in a sense. And Kid Cudi's almost like, not in a derogatory, insulting way, but like background music to your life in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is super super interesting.
Okay.
To kind of just to end what I meant about is, right, like listening to all the albums. I think you're totally right. Like fucking the first album was kind of like a lost kid, just lonely, solemn, trying to figure out what's going on, in almost like innocent, in a way, innocent, lonely sadness, and expressed in a complete thoughtful and honest way. And then Man on the Moon 2 was him like, hey, I'm still fucking confused and sad, but I'm gonna get fucked up. I'm out here, I'm a rage, I'm the rager now. And then in 3, I feel like he kind of continued that, but then also kind of established this new human, this new man on the moon, I guess, who's more confident, more aware of who he is, still very fucking sad, but aware that the sadness will always be there and almost like overpowering the sadness because he's aware of it all. So when I knew that or understood that, I started listening to the album in a whole different way.
Yeah, I mean, he talks something about that like in the Zane Lowe interview. I think he said that he's like, it was like a big realization for him because, and I feel like you and me have talked about this on podcasts before, is that like there are those moments when you're super happy and you think, oh, this is gonna last forever, and then it's really gut wrenching when you figure out, fuck, this is not forever. And then you go back into the same shit you were dealing with a little bit before that you thought you were just completely over. And I like that he talked about that because that is what he said. He's like, I thought for a while that, oh, I'm past this point. Now I'm happy. My life is good now. And he's like, and then when it wasn't, it was like, fuck, how do I deal with this? And I feel like that's a lot about what this album is about, is because like there are a lot of similarities to number 2 where he's talking about raging still. He's talking about shit. But obviously the cocaine is missing, which is a big aspect. Because I looked through this album and there is really no mention of actual cocaine. Like it's more alcohol, weed. There's not even really psychedelics. But I mean, there is like psychedelics. Psychedelic.
I think he mentions mushrooms. Yeah.
Does he? Oh, okay.
I think so.
But yeah, like it's more like weed and alcohol. And like I feel like it's him dealing with the problem. And actually, on the back, I don't know if you read it. What like the back of the album says. Did you ever read? Little because it has like
I don't think so.
There's like a little synopsis for like an album, and then it says let's see, it says in the last 10 years, Scott Mescudi has been through hell and back. After feeling like his world was over, he found hope and overcame the darkness plaguing his life. But happiness isn't forever. What he thought was peace turns into a nightmare. He finds himself lost, dealing with the same pain he had not felt in years. In one night, he must face himself and fight to win back his soul from the evil Mr. Rager. And then, it says like featuring production by blah, blah, blah. But like that's kind of the story. And that's why it's actually, I wish you would have watched the She Knows This video.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, dude. Like he's on the couch and he's like drinking and smoking by himself, like at his house. And he's all fucked up. Like you can tell he's all like just fucked up. And he's watching Pursuit of Happiness. And it's Will Smith talking to his son. And then out of nowhere, like Will Smith starts talking to him through the TV, but it's actually Will. It's funny. He's like, Scott, get up. You need to do something. Like, what are you doing? And then Kid Cudi's like, you're fucking right, Will Smith. And then he's like, up and like, it like does all this shit. And he goes on this car chase and all this bullshit. But it's a pretty funny video, And like, I feel like I feel like it lends to the idea of this. Because when I first heard it, I was trying and like was writing. I was trying to, I don't know, I guess put it in with the other albums. And I feel like that really symbolizes it. Like, I like that it's almost supposed to be a one night thing, like him battling this all in one night, because like you said earlier, it is different. Like he's still battling like a lot of the same things in this album, but there is an acceptance to it that changes kind of the narrative of it. Because in number 2, there's a lot of references of people telling him like, oh, you got to be careful. And it's more like, oh, no, fuck you. Like, don't tell me what to do. I'm living my life. You know what I mean? Where like, I feel like we've all been through that. But
dude,
on this
part 2 reminds me of you. Sorry. I just want to say part 2 would totally reminds me of Corey. Oh, Man on the Moon 2. I mean,
bro, that's my album still, that's the shit, like that album, I feel like really did almost play a bigger part in my life than number 1. Although number 1 did play a big part. But, I feel like on this album, though, there are mentions. I'm trying to find it because I have them written down. But there are mentions where he talks about people caring about him on this one. And it's a much different aspect than in Mr. Rager. In Mr. Rager, it's, like I said, when people are telling him they care, it's almost like, leave me the fuck alone. Versus in this one, it's almost like he realizes, like, fuck, like, there are people who care about me. There are people who love me. And, like, I'm doing this. And he's just trying to fix himself. But, I think it's a good album, I think it's a good album. And I think like, especially after 1 and 2, I mean, maybe it's not as good as 1 and 2, in my opinion, but it is like has its moments. And there are some songs that I think There's some songs that I think are amazing, like Tequila Shots, Sad People. Dude, Sad People is fucking amazing. Like, you know, it's just I don't know, dude. I think it's a really good album, and I think it's cool what he tried to do, you know?
Yeah. So for sure, I definitely like the album. My first initial listen, like I said, I was a little turned off to it, but I think that was my own bullshit. But it's different it's as different of a Man on the Moon album as the other two were different from each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of appreciate that it doesn't sound like the other two. And I think that I went into Man on the Moon 3 with like this expectation of something sounding like Man on the Moon 1. I think the teasers and stuff like that made it seem like it was going to be a lot more of like a more slow paced, introspective, spacey, dreamy beat type Man on the Moon 1 type of thing. And then when I heard this fucking 2020, you know, fucking psychedelic trap album, it was a little like off-putting, I guess. But then once I just kind of got over my own bullshit, then I realized like, okay, it's all good. Like, I'm fucking chilling, you know?
Yeah. And I think too, like, he talked about it in the interview, just like you said, when you first heard this album, it wasn't your favorite, and it's kind of grown on you the more you've either read about it, heard about it, you know, or heard it. And he talked about that with the first two too. He's like, you know, like Man on the Moon 1 and 2 are huge albums now, but he's like, when they came out 10 years ago, like they had a following. But it's true, like when they came out, like we were all listening to it, and maybe a lot of our age group, but it wasn't like what it is now. Like now you hear Kid Cudi's name and everybody goes crazy. Even though the last 10 years since Man on the Moon 2, everybody's kind of talked shit on every project he's put out. But now, like somehow organically over time, though, he's become, even with those albums, has become. I mean, I like those albums, but I know a lot of people didn't. But even with that, he's become something else. Now it's like he is a man of the people, or like you said, it's very. Because I remember one of the things you first told me was that the lyrics was like a turnoff for you because you didn't think the lyrics were all there, and I think. This is one of the things I actually wrote down for Man on the Moon 1 when I was going out. There's the song Simple As on Man on the Moon 1. And that song is all about how, like, I'm not the most complex, like I'm not going to drop fucking crazy metaphors, similes. I'm trying to keep it simple and let you know that, like, I go through the same shit as you. And, like, I think one of the biggest lines I wrote down, and I think it's, like, kind of follows through and really gives us an idea of what Man on the Moon is from Soundtrack to My Life. He says, I try and think of myself as a sacrifice just to show the kids they ain't the only ones who up at night. And I feel like that's a very running theme because like these albums are for us almost, you know, because he talked about in the interview too, where it's almost like they're more for the fans than they are for him. I mean, they're for him because they're introspective about his life, but like they're also for us, trying to show us like, hey, dude, like, look, I deal with this shit all the fucking time. Like, you know, like you can too. That's why I love certain parts of this album, like where he brings back the everything's gonna be okay. Like, it's like when he does shit like that, like, especially at certain moments, like it really does hit. And I really feel like, you know, like, especially if you're going through it, like, because when this album came out, the first time I heard it, it was cool. And then a couple days later, I listened to it after like a night out. And like, I was really hungover and by myself in the bed all morning with Chacha. And like, it just, like you said, it's like the mood you're in. It hit way differently when I felt that way. When I felt that way and listened to it, I was like, oh my God. Like, I felt like Kid Cudi was like a safety net. Like, I was like, yeah, it's like, save me, bro. Save me, you know?
I feel you.
That's what I like about him. Like, he has moments like that, like on Reborn, on Kids See Ghosts and shit like that, you know? Like, there's moments that are amazing. Yeah, so like this one, like I said, this one's still, it's not my favorite, but there. What? That's yours. Yeah. My bad.
You're good.
Kids, some of us grown-ups have to go to work.
All right, get out of here then. Love you. But no,
bro, just get COVID. You'll have a lot of time alone. Don't worry. You just it's they won't bother you. Trust me.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think that's a beautiful way of putting it, dude. It definitely makes music for the people, And I think that that's one of the reasons why he's resonated for so long is because that's what honesty does. That's what reality does. That's what true, honest expression of your feelings does. Because there's other people who are just like you, because you're a human. And when you express a lot of the sadness you feel, people connect with that shit because a lot of people feel that way. And not that many people are that honest about their fucking, depression and sadness. So that type of shit is going to resonate. I always say that truth, reality, real, actual shit is going to fucking persist and last forever, not the fucking bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, exactly. That's why I feel like when he said the lyric thing, when I went back through 1 and 2, that's kind of what I found. I was like, in 1 and 2, there's no crazy metaphors or similes here. This is all just straightforward. Like,
so I let me clarify that a little bit. I still sort of believe what I was saying, but I wasn't necessarily saying there's no bars, there's no good rap lyrics. It's mostly the thoughtfulness of the lyrics. And to me, maybe I heard that and I misinterpreted it because of my own bullshit. But to me, Man on the Moon 1, every line was kind of like something that resonated with me. And it felt like there was so much thought and life and energy and substance in every line or every lyric. And that might just be because it connected with me a certain way. It's a nostalgic type of lyric, it has a lot of, I hate it. I really still dislike it. I like the idea of it. I like that it's like this psychedelic hip hop folk song. But to me, it just feels like Tibbage used the way he says he was really sad. His mama wasn't nice to him. Just boring. I love Kid Cudi. God, fuck you. Come on now. Hey, come on, we boys now. Come on now.
I mean, honestly, on this song, okay, so I have some.
You get what I'm saying, though? Hold on, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do get what you're saying.
Okay,
Because when I first heard it, I'm not gonna lie, I felt. Well, actually, when I first heard it, that sample in the beginning, I was like, "Oh shit, this shit's gonna be dope." And then when I heard the lyrics, you're right. The first time I was going through with the lyrics, the he was so cold in the winter, because it kept getting repeated, I was almost like, this is kind of whatever song. But I don't know. By the end of the song, I was like, "Oh yeah, I can kind of hear it." And then the second time I heard it, it just grew on me. And now, I love the way he sings it. I love the way it sounds. It was just like WZRD, like Wizard, when we first heard it. I remember you and me sat in that car, I fucking hate this album.
Yeah.
All right. And then, dude, I remember the more I listened to it, I was like, fuck, dude, I really like Wizard now, And but with this song though, I was gonna tell you this because I know you. I remember it. This is one of the songs you were like, nah, this is not for me for this song. But dude, I like this called Elsie's Baby Boy, and I like this called Flashback in parentheses because it is, dude. And I was talking to somebody about this, and they had said how it's like a reprise of Soundtrack to My Life, and it is because it's a flashback. But what he's talking about in the song, he had one older sister, two older brothers, a single parent mother, who worked her ass off. Did the best she could, is very similar to wait a minute.
Yeah, that's not a good line to put in a song ever. Did the best she could. I get the point though. I get it.
But then if you listen to Soundtrack to My Life, what he says is two older brothers, one hood, one good, independent older sister kept me fly when she could.
That's a bar though. It's a fucking melody and it rides and it's like there's I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Same bars though. You're right. Yeah, same lyrics.
No, yeah. And then also he talks about the sadness in him that's in there, and
oh wow,
yeah, he talks about the sadness and with his gerbil where he feels all alone, even though it's dumb. It kind of sounds dumb in Elsie's Baby Boy. It's also what he's saying in Soundtrack to My Life about how he grew up around these people and that he loves, but he still felt alone. And then there's also another line that was really cool in Elsie's Baby Boy that I think is interesting, is he says he tried to disguise himself, make sure that no one could tell that in his soul there's a wide open hole, which I think is a dope ass bar. But anyways, on My World, which is in Man on the Moon 1, he says, as I grew to be a teen, I disguised myself. And in this song, he says he tried to disguise himself. I feel like that's why I like this song, because it's called Flashback, and it's also there's a lot of flashes to old shit. My bad. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Hold on. I think I get Monica the keys. Hold on. Hold on. My bad.
Monica. Yeah, think I said what I was trying to say. I think I finished with he tried to disguise himself, make sure that no one could tell. And you know, it's similar to my world on Man on the Moon 1, where he says it's like grew to be a teen. I disguise myself. See, I like this song. I'm not gonna lie. I like the song because I just like the song and it's grown on me, and I like the way he sings it. I like the way it sounds. But I also like it because I do like that it's almost like a flashback to number one. You know, he's talking about things on number one. I mean, I could totally see though why on a first listen or two why people would be turned off by it. But I don't know. Maybe it's because, like I told you, dude, like people hated Speeding Bullet to Heaven, and now that's one of my favorites. I gotten used to that style from him. I like that it's like very. It doesn't sound like anything else, you know. It almost sounds borderline bad sometimes, and I like that he said that in the Zane Lowe too about Speeding Bullet to Heaven. Yeah. Like, you know, I was miserable and depressed. I just wanted to scream on a record, and like people hated it, but it made him feel better, you know. And I kind of. I mean, this isn't that same type of song, so he's not like screaming on it. But I like the difference that he tries. I like that it doesn't sound like anybody else. You're not going to hear anybody else make a song like that, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And I could respect that. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
What? No, what were you going to say?
No, I'll just say for sure. Like I never Speeding Bullet to Heaven. I listened to maybe once. I don't even know if I listened to it the whole way through. And there was like maybe one song that I fucked with, but I never really fucked with it. But I could see why, because I hear that a lot from people. Like very few people, but I've heard it from people that Speeding Bullet to Heaven, that they fucking love it. You know, I didn't hear it back then, but now I'm starting to hear it more and more, which is kind of another aspect of what I'm talking about. Like, even if you create shitty content or something that's not like 100% acceptable or digestible by most people, if you're just fucking honest and you talk about your sadness and real shit that you feel, it's going to resonate in time no matter what, because it's going to connect with people because people feel that way. So
yeah, and it's honestly like what you said, where sometimes for Cudi's music, you have to be in the right mind state or mood for it, especially when you're first liking it. I mean, like after you get into it, it's like, okay, I can play this anytime. But in the beginning, because that's how Speeding Bullets to Heaven was, I fucking hated it the first couple times I heard it, did not like it. And then I heard it one time when I was really depressed and felt really bad. And I was like, oh, holy shit, like I heard it in a whole different light. And I was like, maybe this isn't my favorite sound I've heard him do, but I can feel the depression and the anger and the sadness and almost where the album sounds so crazy and different and almost at times kind of sounds bad, like it's not even a good album, but because of the content and what he's talking about, it almost lends to the album. It's like he was in such a bad spot that he was putting it all out there, you know, and if it sounded like shit, so what? It was still though some sort of release, and like hearing it going through shit was a whole different experience. It's like, oh shit, I feel this. Like it makes me want to scream these songs, you know, like there's one that's called Judgmental Cunt. And that song's so fucking dope, dude. Like when you're like, I'm like, fuck yeah, like, you know, fuck everybody, you know, it's and I like that about him. It's like, it's like his shit takes time to grow on people, you know? But there are some songs though, like I said, dude, like I think Tequila Shots obviously is amazing. But like The Void, dude, The Void is one of my favorites. And that shit reminds me of like Cudi's own, the I will fall in the void. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Cudi's own. Just that idea of like not being in this space where nobody could fuck with you. And like, even if it means you're completely alone, it's just getting yourself in that space where it's like, okay, well, I'd rather be alone and stoned in my room than fucking dealing with all your bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, and letting you bring me down. I'd rather just be, which I feel like is, like I said, this one reminds this project, even though it's different than both of the first two, it reminds me a lot more of number one than it does number two at all. Number two is like this dark chapter that's, because there's darkness in 1 and 3, but I feel like there's a lot more hope and light in both 1 and 3. Versus 2, it starts out hopeful, but towards the end of number 2, Trapped in My Mind, Ghost, All Along, the last 3 songs on that album are fucking not happy at all. They're very like, you know, depressed and like shit, we're stuck.
Those last 3 songs might be his best music. His best songs, you know, like that's why it was like whatever you do for 3, it needs to fucking hit. And that and like to end Man on the Moon 2 with those 3 tracks like that,
it
is ballsy, bro. That's an EP right there to me. You know, that's an EP. But
no, dude, they'll do that. Honestly, for me, Man on the Moon 2, that whole fucking album, every song goes with the story of what's going on. You know, it's all like, it's all this like, because that Man on the Moon 2 pretty much is like he starts out from fresh off 1, feeling good, talking to the kids. But then he gets more influence, starts to party, and then it starts to spiral out of control. He kind of loses himself to the party, and then the ending is him like kind of coming off the drugs and like figuring out how alone he is and like how isolated he's like made. Because, you know, like in number 1, I feel like a big part of the appeal of the album is that he talks about the isolation, how it's helped him. And number 2, you see where the isolation almost comes back to bite him in the ass, because now it's like he's like isolating himself, but now he kind of needs help, you know? And in this one, I feel like he battles with both, because he actually, on this one, he has a song about his girlfriend too, September 16th. That's his like girlfriend's birthday, I guess. So it's like, you know,
that's what it is.
Yeah, so like there is different. And then there's a song too where he talks about him and his girl showing up to the party. I think it's Another Day. It's either Another Day or She Knows This, and how they have they just have their weed and everybody else is pouring up double cups. So it's like, you know, like there is like there's a lot of growth on this album, you know, which is weird that the growth actually takes him back to number 1, you know, like in a way. And I see that even with us, like for like when I was in high school, the psychedelics and like shit were like cool, you know, and there were dark periods with it, but it was cool and great. And then getting into all this other shit that I've been into now is just like a lot darker than that, you know? And it's like I find myself now wanting to get back to just psychedelics and smoking weed, because like that was like, even though there was darkness, it allowed you to deal with your darkness, versus all these other drugs don't allow you that. They just delve you deeper and deeper into your own shit that you don't want to deal with anything, you know?
Yeah,
And
dude.
it's I don't know. I'm just
I think you're at a place in life where you're still like towards the tail end of Man on the Moon 2, maybe, you know, like you're in the middle of Ghost right now.
Yeah. I'm probably on All Along right now.
There you go.
Ghost will be the next period, the next phase, you know? Yeah.
No, hell yeah, dude. I love the album because like it took, I had to allow it to grow on me. You know what I'm saying? And I love Kid Cudi so much. Like I almost, if I would have not enjoyed the album, I almost might not even have wanted to do this episode, because there's no fucking way I would allow myself to go on record and shit on Kid Cudi. Like I would never do it. Same way I would never shit on an Eminem album, even though there's been a couple rough ones. You know, and in a sense, I see a lot of similarities between Eminem and Kid Cudi, dude. So many. Like one of the first notes I wrote down was I liked this album like I liked the Marshall Mathers LP 2. You know, if that makes sense. Ooh, kind of like, you know, I liked Marshall Mathers LP 2. I really liked it a lot. But I also understood it was like this new evolution of Eminem. Maybe Kamikaze might be a better album to compare it to, but it's a different version of Kid Cudi, the same way it's a different version of Eminem, but I still fuck with it hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's definitely not Man on the Moon 1. It's not Man on the Moon 2. It's Kid Cudi in 2020 basically just, it sounds like he's creating the music that he probably listens to. You know what I'm saying? He's like vibing in the music he wants to make, which I fuck with, and which I also think Eminem is doing at the same time. Eminem is doing what the fuck he wants. He doesn't give a fuck anymore, you know? And I think Kid Cudi's kind of in that same place, which is a great place to be at, because even though your old fans might connect to this style of music one certain way, or might expect that music, or, you know, whatever, he's just creating what he fucking wants. And in the end, that's really what's going to matter. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate this album for what it is. And I truly, truly like it. And as of right now, it's like what I'm listening to the most throughout the days. Some songs that I really fucking, oh no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's honestly one of the things I like so much about Kid Cudi. That's because I feel like we've all fucked with him since Man on the Moon 1 and 2, no matter what. But it's like, you know, for a while there, you know, he did change up his whole style, but that's like what you said. That's what I like about him. I like that. I know he talked about that he was in this mode where he was still trying to do things that might impress people. But I mean, when you listen to the music, it is so fucking different, and some of it's so off-putting And like, especially after Man on the Moon 1, 2 and drop, Man on the Moon 1 and 2 dropped, and then the albums he came out with after are so putting that I really respect him for that creative freedom that he goes. Because a lot of people in his position that would have made Man on the Moon 1 and 2 would have been like, oh my God, everybody loves the shit. My next album has to be Man on the Moon 3. It has to sound like that, which I like that. I mean, of course, there are moments where I'm like, fuck, I wish it sounded like this, but I'm glad that he's not doing that. He's doing his own thing, because if he was doing what I wanted, eventually I'd probably get fucking bored of it. You know what I mean? Like when you hear the same album by the same artist 10 times in a row, eventually it gets old, you know? So I really respect him for the same reason. The fucking, it's the artistic freedom, and it's just different, dude. And like, there's moments where it's like, nobody, like Elsie's Baby Boy, not a lot of people are going to like this fucking shit, especially the first time, you know? But it's cool that he's willing to take that risk. And he just seems like a cool fucking dude, you know? Seems like you could sit down and like have a real conversation with the guy, you know? It's like,
for sure.
Like, that's why I like the Zane Lowe a lot, you know?
You know, one video that popped up in my recommended. Go ahead.
The what?
Kids Bop version of Kid Cudi. That's true. Same kids singing the same corny music. That's true. I was just gonna say, like, think about it. Like, there's artists out there who create the same kind of music for so long. You know, it starts to show in the music that they're just not having fun anymore. And that's one thing. You know, you have to evolve as artists. You have to, and you have to kind of say fuck you to your own fans. You know what I'm saying? You have to like look at. Like I keep making these comparisons to Eminem, and it's just kind of how I look at it. But like, if you look at Relapse, nobody really fucked with it. He was doing these corny voices and stuff like that. But it took him a few albums to kind of find his way. But this new version of Eminem, I really fuck with, because he found this 2.0 of himself. He fucks with him. He likes it. He enjoys it. He's having fun, and he's being honest. So it might have taken him some growing pains, you know, same way with Cudi, but I fuck with it, and it's honestly like really cool to see that they're taking chances and it's paying off for them in the end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it is similar for the two of them, like you said, and even a different way than you were saying. It's like they're both been. I mean, Eminem obviously longer, but they've both been in the game so long. Both have a lot of money. Both have kind of already went through, like Eminem obviously went through his crazy phase where he was in the news all the time, drugs all the time. And he's at a more mature stage in his life where he's not doing that. And like Cudi too. Cudi went through the stage where he was arrested at his girlfriend's house for breaking down her door and had a bunch of cocaine on him, you know?
Oh yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that was during Man on the Moon 2. He got arrested he was at his girl's house and kicked down the door, and then obviously the police got called, and that was when he got caught up with all the coke and shit. And then
I had a very similar night.
Similar night. But you know what I mean? Like they fucking like they've been through this already. So now it is cool. Like that's why, I mean, a lot of people do seem to have responded positively to this album.
Oh yeah.
But like, you know, for Eminem and for him, like when people do talk shit, like, oh well, it's like boring or they're not saying much. It's like, yeah, but I mean, would you want them to come out and talk about shit that they're not going, like, you know, like I don't want to hear Eminem talking. I mean, Eminem still talks a lot of the same shit, but it's like he can't come out with a song like Kim again, you know? He's not in that space, you know? So they're doing what they can with it. Was just like when Dre dropped his album, the Compton album. Like people were shitting on it, but I was like, this is actually a pretty good album for somebody who's been so fucking rich for so long that they don't really deal with normal problems, you know? And it's like, that is like, I feel like that does say something, like to go out and still be able to do it. Like with Cudi, like he's not in the same space. He's in a more mature space, but at the same time, he's still like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
You know, and it's like, they're both older and more mature. So people shouldn't expect it to be the same, you know. You shouldn't expect the same, you know. They can't make the same because they're not in the same space, you know. Yeah,
I think it's human nature to just like obviously want what you know.
Yeah,
and, you know, it is what it is. People do that with their favorite artists, but I think it's something that you have to understand in yourself. Like people have to change, and it just is what it is. And if you want this artist to create the same shit forever, they're not going to be the same, and you're not eventually just not going to like it because you're going to change too as a listener. You know
and
what I'm
it's
saying?
like, if you want the artist to keep making what you want them to make, then are you a fan of the artist? You know what I mean? Or are you just a fan of what you like? You know,
Bars.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you want him to keep making the same shit, then were you ever a fan of his, or you just heard something you liked and you're like, oh, that's what I like. That's what I want. But it's like, not like, if you really like the artist, let him work. You know, I mean, you could hate what he put out, but it's like, I don't know, you shouldn't want the same thing.
I wonder if that's just kind of like something that we understand because we make music, and maybe like it's different for other people who don't make music and they just listen to music. It's probably way different the way they experience things and listen to artists and shit like that.
Yeah, and I know some people view it also as like, I'm your fan, you should want to impress me because I'm here for you, you know? And it's like,
yeah, I get that. But fuck them.
No, yeah, fuck them. But there are a lot of people who are like that, where it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to listen to it now because it's not what I want. And it's like, which I get to, like, you shouldn't listen to it if you don't like it. But but you shouldn't expect somebody to create for you. And I feel like a lot of artists see that problem and they get mad. You know, it's like Bob Dylan when he's like, all right, fuck y'all, I'm going to make electric music. I don't electric guitar, and I don't give a shit what you say, you know? Yeah, it's like, it's cool.
Great reference, Corey. Great reference,
bro.
It's just to name some tracks that I really like. Yeah. Obviously, Tequila Shots, and She Knows This. I think those are given tracks like you just almost have to enjoy. But fucking Dive, dude, I really love the vibe of that track. And it just really sounds like some new age wavy, but also like old Cudi. I fucking love it. The vibe of that track. Show Out with Skepta and Pop Smoke, I thought was really dope. I thought it was insane to hear Kid Cudi on like some sort of like a tip drill song. Like, what the fuck? And then Skepta on a drill song too. I don't know if he really does that or not, but it was dope. I usually don't fuck with Pop Smoke that much, but I like the whole track. And I don't know if I'm gonna get flamed for saying I never fucked with Pop Smoke like that, but that's just the truth. But I was not a big fan. Obviously soloed. Unfortunately, yes, I think I do know that. But fucking, I never even heard of him before he died, dude. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, Pop Smoke, this and that, and I'm like, what? I never even heard of him, but whatever. No. Did you?
I heard about him because of Paul and Anthony, and like he wasn't my favorite, but some of his shit's kind of dope, you know?
Mm-hmm,
yeah, it's cool. But dude, that song I like a lot. But I like Skepta already, so Skepta's part is so, dude, I love that Kevin, like, what does he say? Like,
oh yeah, I got guns as big as Kevin Hart. Please don't think it's a joke.
Dude, I love that line because the first time I heard it, I was already laughing, and then he said, please don't think it's a joke.
Oh yeah, me too.
I thought he was talking to me. I was like, oh, my bad, bro.
My bad, Skepta.
Yeah, but Skepta's dope. But that song,
he's dope.
That song's a good one.
Yeah, and then after that, you go straight into Solo Dolo 3, and then Sad People. This is a great fucking album. When I start breaking it down by track, I'm like, holy shit, this is beautiful music. You know what I'm saying? And it really is. It really is. I think I just, I'll mention the last few tracks I like, and then I'll talk about like why I think the nostalgia and why I don't know. We'll talk about that right now. But I really like The Void, obviously, but honestly, Lovin' Me with Phoebe Bridgers is like, wow, that might be one of my favorite tracks on the album because it's just so significant, and it's like those are thoughtful lyrics in that track.
Interesting, you know what I mean? Say that was actually the first time I heard it was one of my least favorite songs, but now that I've heard it more, it is one of my favorites. Like it's very like, I just, you know, it's very like essential Cudi. You know, it tackles the mental health issues, it tackles it all, and then with her singing on the hook too, like it's a really beautiful song. Like the more you get into it, the more I'm like, fuck, dude. Like
she's Christian, right? Like a Christian artist, or no? No. Okay, I'm probably wrong. Okay,
nah.
I don't know why I thought that.
She's actually pretty good, Phoebe Bridgers. But dude, I love that song. That's like one of those songs that I'm talking about. That it feels like a safety blanket. Like it's what I want to hear when I'm sad. You know, it makes me feel like you know, you're not alone. You know what I mean? Like I love the moments like that on this album. I think it's a great song.
What did you think about Rockstar Nights?
Okay, so first time I heard it, wasn't like my favorite song, but dude, like that last. Here, I'm gonna pull that. That last
part.
The last verse with Cudi where he says, and I'm yelling, doing how you like now. Say I'm cute and you ain't telling lies. Nah. Like I love the way he sings it. It just sounds fucking dope, dude. Yeah. I don't know what it is about that line, but I just love the say I'm cute, you ain't telling. It's just like the fucking flow, and I like how it changes up. And honestly, now that I've heard it a lot, I like Trippie Redd's part too. You know, I've never been a like fan of his, but like his part's dope, dude. Like, and it's a good song. I'm not gonna lie though, the song I feel like probably could have been earlier in the album because it seems a little out of place right there in the middle of like, because what it goes, the void, loving me, pale moonlight, for the kids, and Lord I know, but then that's like right in the middle, you know.
Yeah, I think Rockstar Nights is kind of like a positive rage song. Kind of like, okay, look, I'm gonna party and rage, but I'm okay. I don't need to do coke. I'm not lost anymore. But and like kind of like I'm a fucking rock star. I'm gonna enjoy it and kind of like not feel sad about it. And that's kind of what I took from it. And that's why it's like where it's at in a way. Does that make sense at all? Maybe that's just my own bullshit, but
I get what you're saying. Yeah. But to me though, like no, I do see that too. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the songs on this album have that mind state where it's like, okay, I'm gonna party, but now that I accept that I know that I'm dealing with this, it's like it's not all negative, you know, because now, you know. But I also feel like the song also is talking about, you know, that the rock star life is also a very dangerous life for them to be living, you know, and that's why it's like nights with the K, you know, it's not like rock star nights where we're partying. It's like we're rock star nights where we're living this life and we're just trying to stay alive because it's a fucking hard thing to navigate, you know.
Yeah, kind of like a more confident warrior perspective of being a rock star. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's in the title, you know, the nights.
Exactly. That's how
like
I took it.
We're fighting this.
I got this.
And dude, I love towards the end the 1,000 blunts can't OD. You know, like like I love when he says that. Like there's
you get lung cancer 1,000 blunts though, but you're gonna die.
Still not very healthy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, so yeah, I like obviously For the Kids and Lord I Know was kind of a weird last track, but I thought it's an amazing song. Bro. It's an amazing song, but to me, it just was a weird way to end the album.
Yeah, but I mean, he ended it with that to be continued.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Know? That's where it kind of fixed it.
But dude, I love this song because it reminds me of A Kid Named Cudi. You know his mixtape before Man on the Moon 1?
No.
You've heard A Kid Named Cudi with Cleveland Spazzin' and like fuck, dude. Okay, you've heard A Kid Named Cudi. Wait, I don't know why I can't.
I don't think so.
Bro, you had to have. There's so many fucking big songs. Yeah, Cleveland is a city, Down and Out, the prayers on it, Maui Wowie, Heaven at Night, Embrace the Martian, Man on the Moon.
Oh my God, I forgot about all that. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Right. Yeah, and that's what Lord I Know reminds me of. It really reminds me of like Cudi Spazzin', like when he's just like fucking rapping and Cleveland is the reason. Like it reminds me of that shit. Like especially when he does the ready, how I am, I'm rocking steady. Like it's so dope. I think it's such a cool. I think it's a cool last song because he like just fucking flows. And then I love the baby I'm a warrior, you know? Because like that, I feel like essentially that's like you just said with Rockstar Nights. That's like a big part of this album is that I've been through a lot already and I've seen a lot and dealt with a lot. And maybe I am at a much more mature and level-headed place. But I'm fucking still dealing with this shit every day. But like, I like that he ends with like, you know, but I'm a fucking warrior. And like, I know I'm a warrior. And like, yeah, I know it's going to be hard. And every day is going to be fucking different. And every year is going to have its own struggles. But like, I'm a fucking warrior. And I like the way it ends because I feel like that's an essential theme of this album is that it never fucking stops. You know, you just learn to deal with it and hopefully you get better dealing with it as you grow older, but it never fucking stops, you know?
That's true. That's one of the things he said on Zane Lowe is that he understands like, oh, I'm always going to have these thoughts. I'm never going to get away from them. No matter how many drugs I do, no matter how much therapy I do, they're always going to be there. I can minimize them and I can overpower them, but they're always going to be there. And that's wild. It just reminded me, dude, when I took acid this most recent time, the time that I watched Enter the Void, I remember like while I was peaking, I went and wrote this shit down, and I've done that a lot during trips. But I wrote this down, and it said something about like the voices will always be there, but you can learn to make them a little bit more quieter. That's what I wrote down during the trip. And it was like, it made so much sense to me. And it kind of that's kind of like the theme of the album, exactly like you just said. Wow.
Yeah, no, dude, I think that is like, after watching the Zane Lowe, it made more sense. I was like, okay, because I was trying to put it in, like I said, I was trying to really find out how it could fit into this trilogy. And I feel like that's what it is. Because number 1 and 2 are very, they're about the same things. Number 1's just him growing up, like you said, being a teenager and confused and realizing it's a big fucking world. Number 2 is like dealing with this new fame and like the party and how do you balance your life out. And then this one's like, okay, I made it past this rager phase. I made it past these other phases. How do I deal with this new phase in my life where I'm still dealing with issues, even though I'm not doing as many substances and I'm not maybe doing this crazy shit, but I'm still dealing with these thoughts, these suicidal thoughts, this sadness, this depression, this loneliness. But it's like, I that's why I like this album. I think overall it's definitely more positive than number 2, obviously.
Absolutely.
But I mean,
more positive than 1 too. Definitely the most positive for sure.
I think so. Yeah. But like number 2 will always be my favorite because I like that sad shit. But I think this one's really, it's good. I like the message that it's sending, especially like for like people like us. Like if you've dealt with this shit, I think it's a cool album to put on when you're down because it's, I don't know. It's very real. And this album, unlike the other 2, you don't really need to do psychedelics or smoke weed or do cocaine to like. And not that you have to do those things to like the first 2 albums either, but the first 2 albums deal heavily with all 3. And this one still talks about those things, but it's more now also just mental too,
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense. I know number 1 is very mental too, but like, there's still the weed and psychedelics. And, yeah. But this one's very much more just dealing with life. Yeah. But
I loved it, dude. It was a great album, and I'm glad that I gave it a chance. I'm glad that because the first time I listened to it, I'm at work, sweating, pushing, going through the aisles, and that's definitely wasn't the right way to listen to it. So I'm glad I gave it more of a chance and listened to it in better states of mind. And honestly, my most enjoyable moment listening to it was last night in quarantine, alone, with wireless headphones on, smoking my pen, and just walking around my room. It was legitimately the best experience I had with it. So I'm definitely glad we did this.
I feel like that's like the type of album it is, It's like it is very much an album you'd go and like fucking drive up to like where you used to drive up by your dad's, like on that hill, smoke some weed and listen to the album, and look at the city, and it's cool for that. It's very, I think it is an album, but I mean, all 3 of his albums, I feel like are albums.
True.
I mean, like I'll put on number 2s when people are around or 1, but like they are all 3 albums that they're more meant to be listened to alone by yourself. Like you said, smoking weed and like being able to reflect on yourself, And the lyrics aren't super complex, but they're things that a lot of us deal with every day, even without drugs.
And I feel like Kid Cudi's music is kind of like, it reminds me of like when I make a song, in a sense, not like how good or how it sounds, but just like of how I enjoy it. Like I have to almost know what's coming in the song and how the song sounds for me to really experience it with Kid Cudi. Like there's some artists like Eminem's new album, right? I listened to it one time through and I feel like I experienced it for the most part. I'm sure that I'll listen to it more, but like I feel like Kid Cudi, you need to listen to it a few times because of the type of music he makes. And then Eminem, because he's still lyric based or whatever the fuck, you can kind of experience the song a little bit better on your first listen than Kid Cudi.
Yeah. No, Kid Cudi, all his albums have grown on me. I remember hearing number 1 and I liked it back in high school, but it wasn't like when I first heard it, it wasn't like instantly this is the best album I've ever heard. But over time, now it's like, oh man, this is one of the most significant albums I've ever heard. And same with number 2. I heard it the first time. I was like, oh, this is great. But then like the way my life went too, it was like, it almost felt, that's why I feel like, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but for me, that's why I feel a way about Kid Cudi. I feel like almost like he's, I don't know, like he's guided my journey through life. Yeah, like he's
like a shaman.
Yeah, like he has guided it, you know? And I feel like number one is very much like that. Like he's very much like a shaman that takes us on a psychedelic trip. And you know, and he's just the fucking man.
Fuck
But
yeah, man.
I feel like there was something else I wanted to add though, real quick. Hold on, let me see. Go ahead though if there's
I'm gonna try to see if I have any other I have two more notes. I put Cudi is the best at creating a vibe and nostalgia versus true opinion. And that's just kind of like some shit that I always talk about, dude. Like it's something that is constantly like an obsession of mine when I listen to music or something. Like how do I know if I truly like this? You know, like, or is this just some nostalgic feeling I get that's connected to me being young and free? You know, it's confusing and honestly, I need to get away from it because it fucks with my head when I'm trying to listen to shit. Like, you know, do you ever feel that shit creeping in your mind where you feel like you don't know if you truly enjoy something or if it's just nostalgic, or if or even if it's just your ego telling you like, you should like this. It's going to be cool if you say that you like this so you can talk to other people and say you like it. Like, you know, like, does that ever...
Not exactly, but I know what you mean. Like it's there are things that like by artists like that I've loved for a long, like Eminem for one, you know? It's like there are things he's done where it's like I want to like it because I love Eminem. But I'm like, but do I like it because I think it's good or because it's Eminem, you know?
True.
And then there are other things where it's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
it's like maybe doesn't even matter, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Alexa, stop. Shut up. Sorry. Hey, Alexa, stop.
Yeah, bro. Who do you think you are? Show some respect, bro.
Stop, please.
But no, dude,
this like doesn't matter, dude. Like fucking, that's what I'm trying to tell myself. Shut the fuck up and just like what you like and don't like what you don't like. The ego is a part of you. Quit trying to kill the ego. It's never gonna happen. You gotta kiss the ego.
But
that's
like
my new thing.
Yeah, dude, I like you said that the other day. Kiss the ego.
Kiss the ego. Don't kill it. Kiss it.
Yeah. No, but I feel like I have experience though what you're saying though with older shit though, like because there's sometimes Frankie, I can't think of an artist right now, but there's been artists she'll put on and it's shit we used to bump all the time, and she'll put it on now and she still loves it, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm as into this anymore. What? No. Just Frankie will put on certain music. Frankie J, exactly. Well, you know, and it's like, and then I start to think like, did I like this music back then because of the time period, and now I just don't like it anymore? Or am I being pretentious now and think, oh, I like better music, so I don't listen to that? Like, what is it that makes me feel like I don't like it as much? Because at one time, I love. Oh, this is the band, like Group Love. Frankie was playing Group Love. And at first I was like, I don't know if I like it as much. But then like we were talking about it and I was like, you're right though. Like when it did come out, like I fucking was in love with this. And it made me think like, was I in love with it because of like the time? And now I'm just not in love with it anymore. Am I just being pretentious now? And I think they're not a good group. So I'm like, whatever. They're just some pop group. Like I'm like, what's making me feel that way? Because I did love it.
Even in that example, it's like, I think that like we tend to enjoy music that reminds us of a feeling, which is totally normal and okay. And I think Group Love in particular kind of reminded me of this freedom of Coachella, of this openness, of friends, of excitement.
Yeah.
And that's what Group Love reminds me of. I'm not going to sit here in the dark and listen to Group Love with my headphones on. You know what I mean? There's no fucking way. Exactly. You know, Daniel might. I think this fool might. He really, I know it him. But honestly, I don't. Yeah, I'm trying to get to a point where I'm just not obsessive over it because it fucks with my head too much. And it's definitely something that, you know, I noticed with this album in particular and with Kid Cudi in general, the last, you know, few weeks listening to this, like, do I really fuck with Kid Cudi's music like that? And then after I went through his music, it's like, yes, I do. Some of it I don't, but I really do. And I think that he's an amazing artist and has just the best ability to create a vibe. His melodies are on point. His honesty is amazing, and you know he makes good music and great albums. And I think that I just need to quit getting in my head so much about shit. And that's what happens when you work fucking 10-hour days and you're alone the whole time. You just think too much. So
yeah. Bro. Nah, bro. I get it. No, it's yeah, it's weird, man. It's I hate having that feeling too. Like, because I felt like that before too. When this album first came out too, before I listened to it, that was one of the things I was nervous about. I was like, what if I go into this and I fucking hate it? Like is that going to change my whole idea of Kid Cudi as a person, you know? Like, and it's worrisome, you know? And I'm glad it didn't, but it's like, yeah, you know, I felt, okay, this is a perfect example. I mean, it's way different, but fucking Mumford and Sons, their first 2 albums, amazing to me. Their 3rd album with Electric, I heard it, and now I never ever really go to listen to their first 2. And it's like, fuck, like I almost feel like I fucked it up by listening to their newest, you know, and like that's what I got worried about with Cudi too. And like, I get worried about that with Eminem sometimes too. I'm like, what if I listen and I absolutely hate it? Like, does that make me a bad fan? You know?
I think it also has to do with the fact that we've been doing this podcast and we've never really discussed things so deeply. I mean, we have, but not like so many different types of stuff. So it's kind of like this podcast in general, starting to like talk about what I enjoy, what I don't, how I enjoyed it, whatever the fuck. It kind of like not messes with your head, but it starts to allow you to see how you appreciate music or how you're listening, how your opinion is formulated. You start to understand it a little bit more. And then that kind of makes you question things a little bit. But it's good. I think it's just a part of the gig we have. And in time, we'll understand things more and it won't be so confusing.
Yeah. But I mean, either way, like I said, I'm glad it didn't happen for this album. I really did enjoy this album. And I'm hoping, since I talked to you yesterday about like, you know, how it's like felt like fucking super down and going through shit. I'm hoping I'll be, you know, like what I'm really hoping is that by halfway through next year, Man on the Moon 2 stage of my life will be done and I'll be on number 3, you know?
Fuck yeah. Like, you'll be with Skepta and Pop Smoke, hopefully. By then.
I'll be showing up to parties with only weed, you know what I mean? Like that's the goal, like, you know?
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
But that's why I like him, dude. I feel like he's been on a journey with me, or maybe I've been on a journey with him. I don't know. Yeah. But it feels like his albums have scored significant parts of my life, you know? And like, did you ever watch the Travis Scott documentary?
No, I don't like Travis Scott.
Oh, okay. So, I like his music a lot.
I like it. I like it for background at parties and stuff. I would not listen to a Travis Scott album from the beginning to the end. He has no substance to him to me.
I can see that. See, I'm not gonna lie. I like it. You're gonna get laugh flames. No, but no, I like his albums and I like his music a lot. But I would agree, like it's hits, you know, they're hits. Yeah, they're not. Yeah. There's not like anything that's gonna like save my life, you know. Yeah, which is what I was gonna bring up, because in the Netflix documentary, it's actually a really good documentary, just because like it made me like him more because of how dope he is with his fans. Like the way he is with his fans is just like. It's just so dope, you know? It's just fucking cool. But in the documentary, there's a lot of fans who are like, oh, he saved my life. His lyrics saved my life. And I was thinking, how, you know? But when I was, you know, going through Kid Cudi, and there are people who say the same about Kid Cudi, and like, that's what I was going to bring up is that, you know, I've heard people say this about artists like Travis Scott, blah, blah. And it's like, really? It saved your life? But like Kid Cudi, when people say that, I could totally see how some of these songs, if you're really down in a dark place and you hear him saying like, for the kids, I love that fucking hook where he says, just know we're not going to leave you alone. And like, you're not alone, you know, like we're not going to leave you alone. Like we're all in this together. And like, there's just moments where it's like, I could see how this music could save someone's life, you know, like if you're on that edge, or if you're coming down really hard and you hear this, some of it's very uplifting and it's cool, you know, it's almost like what Kanye wants to do, you know? And,
that makes sense.
And Kid Cudi, though, it has been doing it for a long time now, you know, and Kanye wants to make this type of music, and he does succeed in some aspects, but I feel like Kid Cudi, this is just Kid Cudi style, you know, like he's for the kids, you know, that's why I love the For the Kids song. Because since number one, that's what it's been about. It's like it's the kids, it's the fans, it's that you're not alone. It's
Kid Cudi's kind of like Jesus Christ, you know?
Dude. I try to think about myself as a sacrifice. That's what he says. Like
that's true.
He's my Jesus.
Wow. Cheers to that. Cheers to that. I love you, Scott. Love you, Scott.
Dude, also, I forgot to bring up, dude, I love the Scott Pilgrim versus the World sample that they had.
Oh, yeah. You
know, especially because he has the song Scott Mescudi versus the World on number 2. So I love that they use that sample.
How much better, maybe this is the last thought I'll have, but how much more connected do you think the albums would be if Common narrated all 3?
I know, I always wondered why they didn't get Common to do all 3,
Yeah.
Because number 1 was when I was trying to do a narrative, it was very easy to get a narrative because there was a narrative laid out with Common, And number 2, you could still hear it even without Common. This one probably was the hardest to hear the concept on number 3, but it would have been really cool to have Common, even if he wasn't for number 2, to have him come back for this would have been interesting,
That's what I was thinking.
Well, there's the Cutter cut coming out. I don't know if you saw that.
You texted me about it, right?
Yeah, I thought it was going to drop tonight, but I think I know it's supposed to drop next year, but I don't know if it's tonight. He said it's going to be extra songs and extra scenes is what he said. So we'll see. I don't know if that's why he did the to be continued. So we'll see what it is.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like he's taking a page out of Eminem's book and just maybe going to drop like a side B or something like that.
Could be. I hope so. I wouldn't be mad at it.
Nah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, man. GG's. I mean, I fucking love the album. I know you did. Everybody who's listening, guys, we need your input. Be friends with us. Enjoy. And if you're at this point in the podcast, you guys gotta please, hit us with some comments, hit us with some questions. I want to start like a segment where we legitimately just answer your guys' questions. So please, if you are watching this or whatever, listening, you can tweet at me, you can fucking comment on this video, you can email me at audible484@gmail.com, or you can email the mind control email, which I believe is mindcontrol484@gmail.com. But yeah, we're here, and we have another episode coming out next week. I don't know what we're doing it on yet, though. Oh shit,
I don't either. Right. I didn't even fucking think about it.
I didn't think about it right now. So right now. Well, we will let you guys know exactly what we do. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end, listening all the way to the end. My Instagram's Audible484.
My Instagram's the Un1verse 0101.
All right. Thank you guys. Peace out.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.